America with another whole week of events that we get to talk about. I'm Bill Moore.
I'm Dan.
And we're here on Reclaiming America. So we're going to start a new segment of the show this time.
I'm excited.
And it's going to be weekly. We're going to each get to pick a winner and a loser on what happened in the last week. Should we start with the winners or losers, sir?
I don't have a winner, so go for the losers.
We'll start with the losers.
All right.
Okay.
Who's your loser of the week? Don't steal mine, because I already told you what my loser is. You can't use mine.
Actually, my loser of the week is South Orange Board of Education.
South Orange?
In New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Board of Education.
Board of Education. Okay,
Right.
Why are they losers?
Because they declared this week they have banned Halloween from their schools because it affects diversity and inclusion, because poor kids can't wear an outfit and some kids are not religious and they can't wear, so they would not wear it. They're my losers of the week.
So, we didn't discuss this prior to, but now you're getting into something that I had a big war with my local Board of Education over in 1998, thereabouts. The exact same scenario. They did away with Halloween for the exact reasons you just mentioned, and instead went to Fall Festival.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion is their rationale for killing it. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting in a fall festival in place of it.
And everybody had, so they had the kids, now this was elementary school, they had the kids, every kid wore the same mask. So they all had to, these paper masks that they colored in so they could make their skin color exactly what you're talking about. What's old is new again, apparently.
Well, evidently. And what the fun part with this is, if you're saying that they couldn't afford uniforms, going back to when I used to go to school in those years, it seems to me the more fun was making a uniform rather than buying one or going out and renting one. We used to put together an outfit.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, I might have bought a costume. Well, my parents would have bought a costume or two. But yeah, it was more fun kind of doing your own thing.
Absolutely. I used to go as an angel because it's obvious.
I'll let that one go. So what is their... So they're calling it a fall festival.
It's calling it a fall festival, and they have banned all outfits, and Halloween has been banned.
So no personal expression whatsoever.
Nope.
No First Amendment.
Nope.
And I don't know what else to say on that.
Well, we go to your
loser
of the week.
I guess they're losers then. Well, my losers of the week are the American public.
Okay, I'm listening.
Just, we lost yet again across the board. Everything. So it's just, in general, we're seeing, and we'll get into different things, but we're just seeing the collapse of the country, to be honest with you. I'm sitting back, you look at what happened as we're filming this day or two ago, the shooting in Maine, and the responses to that. We're seeing all of the stuff in the Mideast. And I want to go into some detail on how the expression, the First Amendment's being used to basically bring us back to the 1930s as far as how we're viewing the Jewish population.
You don't think there's anti-Semitism around, do you?
Oh, my... let me go there.
The left has exposed themselves with that.
Not just the left. I just think the public in general. I'm not going to limit it to the left, Bill.
And the ultra-right, I would buy both of those.
I just... I had a conversation online, which, those are never good, but with someone who is pro-Palestine and was saying the chant that you're hearing from many places, river to sea, make them free, basically. And I said to her, do you understand what that means? Well, yeah, we want Palestinians to have a homeland and all this stuff. I fully support everything in that. And I went, no, what they're talking about is eradicating Israel. Not the country, the people in it. They're literally looking to commit genocide. And she was like, no, that's not true. And I'm like, and this is why I'm saying the American public's losing. This is the mindset. I don't know if you saw the video going around with the kids in high school chanting that.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, how do we survive as a society when you have a decent amount of the population, I might add, that thinks chanting that is a good thing?
Well, unfortunately, and we've said this before, we've raised a group of kids that don't have any reality base.
But even when you show them reality,
It doesn't
They
fit to
can't
their
understand
agenda.
It's not even an agenda bill. I don't think they can understand it.
Well, they haven't been taught critical thinking either.
There's a very key point, right? It's, you sit there. They're so hung up on the babies. Show us the babies video. I don't care about the babies video. The 40 decapitated. I don't care about that. How many other videos are out there showing the atrocities? Well, they don't count. They're on Hamas's website. I don't know if have you been on that.
No, I say to stay away from that.
Do not go on it.
Well,
That's them posting it. Well, that's AI. No, it's not. I mean, This is why I say we're losing as a society, the American public, because we're losing the country to this mindset.
my winner of the week.
Oh, you just want to get out of that one, huh?
Well, we're done. This was supposed to be. I believe when we talked about this, it was a minute or two segment.
Go.
And that was the total for 4 things.
Okay.
Actually, my winner of the week is Representative Johnson, who has become the Speaker of the House. Good, bad, or indifferent, he definitely was the winner of the week. What he does with it is to be determined.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole segment on that.
Oh, I'm sure we are. Yes, we are. But anyway, that would be my winner this week of everything going on. Because losers, there was lots of choices. Winners, there were not many.
I don't really have a winner. This is the problem. I mean, I'll go with that one, I guess, but I don't want to steal yours. Why don't we kind of shift into that as a discussion?
Oh, let's go there.
Good opportunity to do that. So,
That's called a transition segment.
segue.
That's what I said,
It's a
segment.
technical term. For those that don't know, we have a new Speaker of the House after umpteenth million votes
From Louisiana.
from Louisiana, who is basically a nobody as far as the public goes.
But as far as the left is concerned, he's a MAGA conspiracy person.
Well, anybody that was put in that position, they were going to label that way, Bill. Come on.
Well, to be fair, he has been involved in fighting the 2020 election, and he is a MAGA Republican,
Careful,
to be
we can
fair.
get banned for even mentioning it. Yeah, I'd be very upfront. I knew nothing about him until this week.
Neither did I. Had to research him.
I mean, I had to go look at him, like, who is this guy, right?
And the scary part is everybody suddenly voted for him. Everything was all beautiful.
Well, this is where I wanted to go with it. So, as someone who's somewhat in the know, how the hell did we go from we can't get 200 votes total for anybody to full slate, every single person? How the hell do we get there?
a combination of things. And my first bet would be they realized what a damn fool they were making of themselves. And that was for most of them swinging over. And there was a few of them that were actually sitting there going, we have some other business we have to deal with, and maybe we need to get this thing going
You're
and rolling.
way too kind than me.
Well, but my like I said, the bulk of them were sitting. They're getting calls to their offices that they're being burned
That's a fair point.
with calls saying, get off your butt and do something and stop causing dissension. So that would be my primary guess. Secondary is there was actually a few of them that really wanted to do the business of the people.
Very few of them.
Okay.
Because they're all about themselves.
However, what was more interesting is the first resolution they passed
For Israel.
for Israel.
Yeah.
And who didn't support it?
Go ahead.
Guess what? The Squad
Shocking.
and about 11 or 12 Democrats total. However, it was interesting. 2 of the Squad voted present.
Yeah, well, they're worried about getting tossed.
Yeah,
Yeah. President was a
speaking
no vote.
about getting tossed, as long as we're on that
Ah,
direction,
he's on a roll again. Here we go.
I want to talk a little bit about Tlaib and her rant and rave that was seen all over the place.
Which one?
The latest one, where they had to drag her down the hall,
Oh, that one. Go ahead.
and the fact that it doesn't appear that anything's going to happen to this woman over that. And beyond that, the gentleman who accidentally pulled the fire alarm, who was getting a fine, and everything
Sweetheart
gets
deal.
erased in 3 months. Now, I happened to see the video today of what he did. Okay.
I have not seen the video.
The first thing he did was take down 2 signs at exits that say emergency exit before he went over and pulled the alarm. And that is on the video. And yet, now if you and I had done that, they would throw the key away.
We'd be in jail.
Yeah, we would be gone forever. And this man's getting a slap on the wrist. And in 3 months, if he's a good little person, he's going to be it's going to expunge it from his record.
And this was the DOJ that did that.
Yeah, I guess. No, it had to be a
Or
court decision.
Capitol Security.
Had to be a court decision for him to do. He was in court.
Well, yeah, but they go to
They made a deal.
the DOJ
And the
or whoever. Probably Capitol Police was the one that did it.
Well, Capitol Police cannot
And
negotiate. It has to be
No,
a
but
lawyer.
they file the charges, and then the charges go to, I'm assuming DOJ. I honestly don't know. And then it goes to the court.
Which is the
That's my
Washington
point.
D.C. courts.
So you got all these little things, and he basically got a slap on the wrist.
Right. Because it was an accident.
And which body is he in, Bill?
He would be a Democrat in the House of
House of
Representatives.
Who's in charge of the House of Representatives?
Nobody.
Well, he just took all my thunder away, because you're right.
Well, Mr. Johnson's in charge today.
I would like to see Mr. Johnson step up to the
Well,
plate.
you know what?
He's got an
As with-
opportunity here.
As with anybody, you give him the opportunity to either excel or shoot himself in the foot.
Well, here's my viewpoint on him. I don't know anything about him, so I'm going to state that up front. I'm going to give him till basically the end of the year. Now, am I expecting miracles in that time? No. But I want to see some progress. The budget, hard line. We've talked about that before. You've got Marjorie Taylor Greene got censured this week. Now, I am no fan of hers. I will tell you that up front.
Really?
She got censured.
She speaks highly of you.
Shocking, right? So, where's the censure on this guy? That they can do that. They could do that tomorrow. But let's give it a couple days, because I know he's...
Well, it goes to an ethics committee, and the ethics committee comes out and recommends to the full House.
Let's do
so
it.
there is procedure.
Yeah. But let's start it. Come right out and say it. Yeah, we're seeing this. We're going to be sending it to the ethics committee. I want to see them step up and say, here's what we're going to do, and then do it. I don't want to hear, well, we need a few more weeks to kind of look this over and bullshit. They have lost their credibility. You even agreed to that.
Yes, I do. And I don't disagree with you saying they have till January 1st to show something.
I will give them that. And the budget's the big one, I think.
Yeah.
I would say. You're looking at Israel. We talked about that.
Money
And
to Ukraine is an issue one way or the other.
Ukraine, we're looking to send another $100 million over. We've given Biden a blank check to do whatever he wants on that, and he's taken advantage of it.
I really think your numbers are off. I think the word is 100 billion.
No, there was another announcement for $100 million in equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, so probably what, another 10
Did you also
Abrams?
notice that the ammunition that was slated to go to Israel has been rerouted to the Ukraine?
Again, this is their opportunity to get some credibility back with quick action. I'm not saying you're going to solve, world peace.
No, but following that run, and I guess we're transitioning out to the world now. Should we stay with the?
Well, yeah, stay with the Congress. Go ahead.
Stay with Congress. The other thing that was concerning to me came out of the Senate, and I have not been able to figure out why he did it. But Rand Paul has always been, out there. He does what he thinks is right, and doesn't matter who it is. He deals with it. They just approved the one of their committees that does nominations for ambassadorships. Mm-hmm. Approved this guy Lou, I think his last name is, to be the new ambassador to Israel. Now, his record is dealing with Iran and trying to negotiate settlements with them, and he's got a good relationship with those people. So we're sending him to be the Israeli ambassador for the United States. And what I find interesting is he came out of committee with the approval because Rand Paul didn't vote for him.
Did vote
for him. I'm sorry, did vote for him.
Wait a minute.
And
voted for him, yeah.
And I find that interesting. Why? And he has not defended himself yet, but I think it's time that we look at that.
I think what we're seeing, and to go back to what you were saying about how we have a new speaker, I don't disagree with everything you said, that they realized they were looking like fools and they wanted to do the right thing. I think there was a lot of backroom deals made. A lot of them.
Well, we also know, for example, that of this 20-some-odd people that blocked Jordan, a good number of them were there because they were afraid he'd cut the appropriations money that they could send their checks home to the state to.
Exactly.
And, they were worried that he would eliminate them.
And that's why I think there were deals. We may not ever know about them.
Probably not, but you're probably right.
A lot of backroom deals, and that goes right back to what we started the segment with, which was
winners and losers. And with that winners and loser comment, we're going to shut down now, and we'll be back with Reclaiming America.
Can I put that bow on that one for you?
Yeah, I did. That was very
well
nicely
done.
wrapped.
See you in a couple minutes. Hey everybody, welcome back to Reclaiming America. I'm Dan, this is Bill.
And I'm still Bill.
Otherwise known as the OG, old guy. So we kind of touched on this, what?
Old, humble guy.
Yeah, okay. And you say, you're about as humble as Republicans have backbone. That's all I'm going to say.
So they don't and I don't.
No. So we kind of touched on this in the first segment. I'm going to just get out of that whole thing. Talk about Israel, the Mideast in general.
Yeah, what's going on over there now?
Welcome to World War III, my friend. It's already started. So we've now bombed Syria.
Yep.
A depot.
Yep.
A storage facility.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling it. I haven't heard it named anything else. Have you?
There might have been some cruise missiles and things.
No.
There might have been something stored there.
No. The media said it was a storage facility. Food and all that. Come on.
It was. The food of the food for war.
It's.
Well.
We got 2 carrier groups there, a third on the way, another one in the Indian Ocean.
And the Marine Expeditionary Force has just arrived outside of Yemen.
You gonna tell me we're not at war?
Oh, I'm not.
I mean, it's like...
And they have fired... What's interesting is that... And here's the one I loved. Okay? Of all... they must think we're stupider than stupid.
They do.
They claim that Hezbollah fired 5 missiles at Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they were intercepted... 4 were intercepted by our ships, and 1 from Saudi Arabia took 1 down. So where were these things going? To Israel? They must have a problem with their gyroscope.
They might actually. They're using Russian equipment, so I mean, come on. We all know how well the Russian army's doing over in Ukraine, don't we?
Yeah, well, they did, but they fight a war like drop a grid square, drop a bomb.
Yeah, you got to say something about the Russian tanks, man. When they go up, they send those turrets way up.
Well, when you're riding on the ammunition.
I mean, SpaceX has nothing on those Russian turrets. I saw a video of one. You've seen like World War II where the tanks get hit and all that. I mean, literally went whoop and over, and I'm like, that thing went up a couple hundred yards.
And the people in it had to ride.
There were no people at that point, obviously, but it was
they're on their way back.
Anyway, so getting back to the Mideast, you're seeing gradual escalation, is the way I'm seeing it. It's like we talked way back when about frogs in a pot. It's almost like they're frogs in a potting this war, where they're gradually escalating.
Yeah, but I did some research on why this war hasn't kicked off officially yet. Though there are little incursions at night, they send in some rather large forces to do something and come back. But and if this is to be believed or not, okay. One of the reasons they have not started the ground attack is the U.S. request to give them more time to get more Patriot missile battalions scattered around to protect their forces. And I do know some have been moved from Germany and the United States for that purpose. Now, how long it takes to get in there and set them up shouldn't be a big issue. But, there may be some validity to the delay, but there's also a reality that the president, idiot in chief is synonymous, has came out and said that he wants a 2-state solution, and we 100% back them, but we don't really want anybody hurt.
Yeah, okay.
But that's brains were dynamite. Some people couldn't blow their noses.
Speaking about the missile batteries, I don't know if you saw it this morning, but a battery out of Fort Liberty. Sorry, we can't call Bragg anymore. Is being shipped over. I think there's some validity to that. I do think the Israelis are biding their time a little bit. Also, they are not stupid. When they go in, they're going to go in. So I think you got to remember, most of their armies are reserve force. They've got to get them in.
They're there, and
Do
there's
some
also
training.
people volunteering coming from around the
Yeah,
world.
I'm not surprised they haven't gone in yet. I think they're waiting till they are fully ready, and then when they unleash it, it'll be over in hours. I think you'll see. I mean, Egypt's certainly not going to help Hamas. They don't like them. They hate them more than the Israelis do. I think
Hamas has been complaining why the Arab countries haven't been supporting them,
because they don't like them.
and that's basically what they were told.
You know, it's funny because I was watching. I wasn't involved in it, but I was watching this conversation go on where they were like, "Well, why didn't the Palestinians have their own country?" And the person was countering, going, "They had the opportunity. Yasser Arafat was given that opportunity some 30 years ago.
Yes, he was.
Turned it down.
Mm-hmm.
Then I believe it was Jordan took them in, and then the Palestinians tried to overthrow the Jordan king, not once, but twice.
Yes. So they were not well, and that's one of the reasons you don't see the other foreign countries, the other Arab countries,
Exactly my
supporting them,
point.
because they know that they will try to overcome. They're not going to let them in my country because they're going to try to overthrow what I'm in charge.
So then they go to Gaza, and then they start attacking Egypt. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you.
Yep.
No
and the
one
Saudis
likes
have already
them.
said is once this war is over, they'll start negotiations again to resume normal relations with Israel, which is a big
And
point.
that's actually the real reason I think this all has happened, is to stop that. I think, let's be honest, Iran's controlling all this.
Oh, sure.
I think if you're the Iranian mullahs or whatever they are, you got to fear Saudi Arabia, not aligning with Israel, but recognizing them, right? So what do? They get Hezbollah and Hamas to stir stuff up, and that all got tabled because they were going to do the deal right about now. That deal's now gone. It'll come back. I think this was the Iranians stirring it up to try and stop the deal. Ultimately, it's going to, I think, backfire on them. But what other option did they? If you put yourself in their shoes, what other option do you have?
The Iranians?
The Iranians. I mean,
You speak about them now, yet what I find fascinating is we have idiot-in-chief, sometimes known as a president,
that's how you really feel, Bill.
okay, who
Pudding cup.
has had the option to do at least economic sanctions against Iran, and he refuses to pull the trigger on any of it. You know, they're producing up to 4 million barrels a day in shipping. Cut them back to, under Trump, it was 600,000 barrels, enough to take care of your population. Cut them back and shut them down. You got the forces there to make it happen. Do that. The $6 billion that he's afraid to go after, which he was going to give him back. I mean, the man, you have to wonder why he's not doing it and where the crime family is getting this money coming in to help him.
I would argue he's not doing any of it because he doesn't know
Well,
his name right now.
you know what? You know what this spells
that aside.
strangely of. You go back a few years to the Obama administration, and you know this. There's a lot of talk out there that the reason Obama stayed in Washington was to run the country as the third term.
Conspiracy theories going here, Bill.
Well, you know, but we're out of
Careful.
them because we're out of conspiracy theories because all the other ones were proved true.
That's because we're 49-0. Last I count. Oh, I think our producer wants to chime in.
I was wondering if I could share an observation.
Please do.
Please join us.
From a military perspective, I don't think that what Israel is doing is making a ground invasion. Certainly they've crossed into Gaza territory, right? Into that area. But are they planning a ground invasion of Gaza City, or are they encircling Gaza City
For an envelopment?
and killing all the tunnels to envelop them, to keep more equipment
Fair
coming in,
point.
military equipment? That's, I think they're pulling that thing like Caesar did on the Gauls, right? You dig a couple of trenches, towers, and then you start to starve. I don't think they'll starve them.
Except you now have the idiot in chief, among other people, pushing that the border with Egypt has to be opened on a regular basis to let supply trucks come in to take care of these people, and they're insisting on it. So You got an issue there because, again, we don't know what's in those trucks, number one. And fair point number two is, even if it was filled with the right stuff, do you think Hamas is going to give it to the people or their fighters?
Well, there you just stole my thunder because that's what I was going to say. I'm all for the people getting aid. I really am. I don't believe starving a population is the best thing in the world. But to that point, no matter what we send over, the people aren't going to get it. They're going to take it down into their little tunnels, their defense network, and stockpile it for food for the fighters. They're going to, it's all like logistics, like you were just saying, basically.
But that's exactly what you're looking at here, because you go back in the history of warfare, sieges have always been there. And the purpose of a siege was to starve a population, to force them to surrender, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there's no different what Greta was talking about right now. It's a
Exactly
viable
the same.
military tactic.
Absolutely.
But you know, all those things can be true, right? Multiple things can be true. Israel knows what Biden is. He knows what the Obama administration does. They know it, right? And so what better way to set up a second checkpoint for those trucks than to encircle Gaza City?
Like I said a few minutes ago, Israelis are not stupid. They are as brilliant militarily as anyone.
Yeah, I think Greta has a fair point, but in the back of my mind, at some point he's going to turn them loose.
At some point.
Who's he?
Netanyahu.
At some point.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, there is no question in my mind. It's not if it's going to happen. Like I said,
and I would
but
tell
it's
you
going to be hours
that all these
when they
little
do it.
pinpoint airstrikes that they're aiming
know.
at, and I agree with Greta. In many cases, it's not just the building; it's the tunnels under them that they're taking down to close them down so they can't get anywhere.
They're basically recreating Desert Storm, so to speak, right? Because we got all our ducks in a row, and then off you went, and it was over in what, 100 hours?
Yeah, but don't forget we did a shock and awe.
What do you think the Israelis are going to do?
War and shock.
Shock
And
and
they
awe.
have the equipment.
Shock and awe times 1,000 because they are ruthless.
Well, there's a difference when you're fighting for your existence than if you're a paid fighter.
Well, it was funny because, again, I was watching something. I've been watching a lot of this stuff lately. I don't know why, because it's not a positive thing to be watching, but they were talking about the terrorists that took the Olympians in '72. They didn't just take them out. They got every one of them, too. Family, people around them. The Israelis do not mess around.
Look, that's an oldest tactic around. If you leave, unfortunately, someone alive, in 10 years they grow up and they're going to want revenge.
Exactly.
It's not a
And
nice thing to say, but it's reality.
It is reality. And the thing is, and I genuinely believe this, the Israelis do not want to harm the people of Palestine, the Palestinian people. They want Hamas. There's all this talk out there, mostly from college campuses here in the U.S., that the Israelis want to exterminate the Palestinians. They do not. Hamas, absolutely. Hezbollah, absolutely they do. They don't want to harm the people. They want to help the people. And unfortunately, whatever they do to go after Hamas or Hezbollah, they're going to end up harming people. It's no different than us bombing Germany.
It's called collateral damage,
It
unfortunately.
is. That is a reality of war. And the Israelis did not start this war. Everybody seems to be forgetting that.
But they're prepared to finish it.
They will finish it.
And for their own good, they can't do any halfway measures. Because all this is going to do is 10 years from now, 5 years from now, it's going to be deja vu all over again.
And, I sit here watching all of this stuff going on, and I always put the caveat out there. I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. I had my best friends growing up, both parents for both of my friends came out of the camps. They had the tattoos. I heard firsthand the realities.
Mm-hmm.
What you hear in the history book or seeing on TV or read in the history book, yes, it's not even close to what covering the atrocities.
They're close in the fact that the reality is 10 times worse.
Oh my God! And to hear things that happen to them, and I'm not going to repeat them here, but things that happen to the women that they don't talk about, right? And when you see college kids or high school kids go in river to sea, I sit here and I can't fathom how anyone who knows what happened back then can say something like that. I could see where Hezbollah's fighters would say it or that. I get that side of it. How does a kid in America get to that point? Go, because I know what you're going to say.
Education.
There you go, right? They're being told what to think. And
not taught the critical skills to figure it out on their own.
I just sit here and I look at, we talked about UNC. University of North Carolina is a state-funded school, last I checked. Mm-hmm. Where's the state coming in and going, these kids are out? Now, I'm going to give credit to Tulane. Tulane is like half the student body is Jewish. And there's been some, let's just say, not so nice things said to them by other students. They're tossing them. So
well, you have the same thing going on in New York with the comments all over
right.
the place. But they're all afraid to do anything.
Why isn't the state saying, you're out?
Well, because the state, that's why you have a board of trustees that run states, and they have trustees that run there. So the issue is something that it can't be solved overnight. They put people in charge that shouldn't be. Relieve them for not doing the job, and put somebody in there that will enforce the rules for everybody. And with that, we need to say, stay tuned. We'll be back.
Hey, we're back to Reclaiming America. So we've talked about the country. We've talked about the world. How about we bring it a little closer to our home, but yet still apply it for our audience that might be overseas.
Or the rest of the country.
Or the rest of the country.
Right.
So recently, there were some laws changed in North Carolina.
Right. The General Assembly passed some laws and overrode the governor. Governor, let's stay in my bunker till his term is over.
Governor Milquetoast, let's get his name right.
You see, I didn't do anything bad with that now. He just says stay in the bunker.
I called him Milquetoast.
Okay. And some laws were put in effect which are interesting. The first law changes how our boards of election work. Up till now, boards of election were appointed 2 from the Republican Party in each county, 2 from the Democratic Party, and the sitting governor appointed the 5th person, which was a tying vote. So depending who was sitting there, Republican or Democrat, it was a 3-2 majority every given time. Well, we've seen over the last few years how that 3-2 majority with the Democrats sitting there has passed some strange laws, including, that have been overturned many times. So what the legislature did, they passed a law which basically said in the counties would end up with 4 people on their boards of election, 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats, all appointed by the General Assembly. So the counties have lost their ability to appoint them. So knowing the chair of the county that I live in very well, I immediately had some concerns with him, and I said to him, could you tell me what happens that we lost the power to appoint? And the answer that came back was, let's be reality, sir. We have to ask you who these people are because we have no idea who they are anyway when the names apply.
He's not the brightest bulb in the bunch, let's be honest.
Well, so that was okay. And the state's level, the boards of election, and I'm ignoring you on that because I'm trying to be nice so we don't get banned.
I'm having fun right now. Go ahead.
On the state board of election, they've turned it to an 8-member board, I believe it is. And the General Assembly gets to appoint 2. The Speaker gets to appoint 2 from the Senate, 2 from the House, 2 from the Council of State. I'm not sure where the other one comes from, but it's changing the whole thing. Well, that law has been challenged in the courts by the Democrats, and they've gone to Wake County where they can find a judge that will give you an injunction for sneezing if you ask for it, and you can get one there, and they did. So that's the first thing going on. The second law was passed changed a lot of things. For example, the big ones out of it was up till now you could vote absentee ballot, and your ballot, if the election was Tuesday, your ballot could come in 3 days later and still be counted.
Which is asinine to me.
The new law says if it's not in their hands by 7:30, which is the close of voting, it doesn't count, which is not unreasonable since you can start asking for absentee ballots in September for a November election.
Yeah, I've never understood the logic of the argument being that we have to give them enough time to do it. So we're going to set the deadline. Some states it's 2 months out. A deadline is a deadline. Make one and stick to it. Why can't it be Election Day at 7:30?
Well, if you go back to 2020, the Democratic majority actually extended it for 9 days
Right.
after election.
Curiously,
Now, the
right
problem-
after that, the governor took a big lead. But anyway,
You know, the problem with that is if you get 3 days to solve the problem, you can see what you need for voting, and those ballots can mysteriously appear.
no, Bill, come on, that's conspiracy theory. Stop.
Okay, there's another conspiracy. So we have 2 now that are still viable. The other 49 have been proved to be true. So anyway, that also has been challenged in court, among other minor changes to the election law. And there were some changes about what the poll observers could do and things like this, which all for the good, I think.
And then the other one is this is the first election of voter ID is taking an effect.
Yeah, well, that's still in the courts, but they're allowing it to run through now.
It is. You have to have an ID right
Yeah,
now.
I've already voted, and I had to show my ID.
And what I'm finding interesting, because we have early voting here in North Carolina, and this is why I'm trying to take what's happening here and bring it nationwide, because voter ID has been a huge thing nationwide. So we've had early voting for about a week, give or take, somewhere in there.
Since the 19th.
Yeah. So, have you heard of a single instance where someone couldn't vote?
Nope.
Me either. That's North
There's been
Carolina.
no issues at all.
Have you heard of a single instance across the entire country?
Haven't heard of
I
that
haven't
either.
heard
And
any.
you know, if there was one instance, it would
That-
be on every
that
station.
was the point I was just about
It
to
would be
make,
on
which
every
is
station, everywhere.
I gotta believe they were looking. They being the proponents of doing away with voter ID. They got to be looking for someone that doesn't have an ID to try and go vote. They can't find one because you know they're trying to do that.
We also know we live in a time that if you can't identify who you are, you can do nothing.
It's just, again, voter ID is the most ludicrous issue there is. It is the most racist issue for those that are proponents of doing away with it, because you're literally saying that people of color are incapable of getting an ID. They don't have the wherewithal. However
Correct.
you want to take that. Could you be any more racist?
Yeah. My favorite
Come
story
on.
comes out of that when they, about 6 years ago, when they were doing all the complaining up in Capitol Hill, actually in Raleigh, and they brought a guy who drove something like 80 miles to tell the General Assembly that it was impossible for him to drive 25 miles to get an ID to where the nearest station was, where he could get an ID, and they issued them free.
Can I ask a question?
Sir,
How did he drive if he didn't have an ID?
it's just, I can't even say any more than that. It's just, I laughed my
Are
head
you
off when I
saying he
saw it.
drove without a license?
He could have been. Maybe
Well,
he had someone
apparently.
drive him.
Yeah, so we're. But the other part of it that we need to throw out is they've redistricted.
Yes, the new maps have come out.
And there are multiple groups going apoplectic about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I haven't heard? I haven't heard a single group in New York State or California that has a problem with the redistricting they did there.
You think I know why?
Geez, what might be the difference, Bill?
In those states, the Democrats drew them up.
Why is it okay for California to do what they did, New York do what they did, Illinois, I could list a whole bunch of them, but little old North Carolina, oh, it's a major issue. It just goes to show that double standards and hypocrisy are the way of life for
Yeah,
them.
but you have to understand the Democratic Party for years has been able to win everything in the courts. So they, because they can't win in the ballot box, they go to the courts to win what they want.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately for them, in the state of North Carolina and in the U.S. Supreme
Not gonna
Court,
work right
they're
now.
no longer in charge. There are now principled conservatives sitting there to make reasonable decisions.
And they've already done those decisions, so any challenge is going to get voided anyway.
All they're doing in many cases is just delaying because they know the inevitable.
Well, I think it's also they're trying to win the propaganda war. So, I watched a couple of the spokesmen get out there, and, this woman is going on and on about how the redistricting is unfair and all this stuff, and we're going to take it to court, and, she's just trying to get the word out and just create division. That was, if you actually listened to what she was saying, she doesn't for one second think she thinks they're going to win. I think she just wants division, and that's ultimately their goal. And you can see that by, look at the states that I talked about. And there's a lot of different states like that. You never hear a peep about that. If you're so against gerrymandering, and I am, by the way, right? If you're so against that and you're going to complain what's going on in North Carolina, but you're not saying the same thing about New York, you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, or California.
Or California,
Any
or
place
Washington.
where the Democrats are drawing the lines up.
You got Oregon, which has one city that is blue out of the entire state, Portland, that's literally, what, a tenth of the entire state, and it's literally running the entire state.
Yep.
Because of the way they did it, right? You look at New York State. You've got New York City runs the entire state. They have more representatives in New York City than the entire rest of the state. Now, they're going to argue population and all that, but give me a break.
Yeah, well, they use that same population war to discuss why we should do away with the Electoral College.
Well,
that's rearing its head again.
Because they know they can't win that way.
Well,
if they want it to be a popular vote,
which about 6 states could then control who's the president.
I don't even think it would be that many. Basically, it'd be New York, California, and
Illinois,
Chicago. I'm trying to think of the big cities. So you got California's got multiple big cities. You got New York's got multiple big cities. Illinois, Chicago, and Texas. Yeah, I would say maybe Florida too. That's it. They would be deciding for the entire country. So somebody who lives in New York City that, doesn't have bears chasing them is going to tell somebody up in Alaska, you can't have a gun to defend yourself from, a grizzly bear because, it might hurt me over in here. That's what they want.
Speaking of guns.
Oh boy, I shouldn't have gone there. Go ahead.
I dare say what happened in Maine is a tragedy.
Disgusting what happened there.
But again, they're reeling out the usual stuff. We need to ban assault weapons, the ones that look like assault weapons, not even that fire, they just look like it.
Well, I've heard
and the magazines that hold more than one round.
Well, I've heard speculation, not verified, speculation that this was in fact an automatic weapon that he took off the base. Well, again, I
seeing the picture, it looked like an MP5, which has the ability to go either way.
Yeah, again, pure speculation, rumor. I'm not saying that was the case, but the implication is he is a reservist with mental issues, and somehow he got that weapon off the base. So it could have been an automatic. Again, though, that's a military weapon. That is not what you and I can buy.
Right. And just because it looks like one, I mean, I can buy a water pistol that looks like a 45 caliber pistol. That doesn't mean it's a 45 caliber pistol. And just because it looks like an assault weapon, and by the way, the definition of assault weapon is to be determined, because it's an offensive weapon. When have you ever run into a rifle that's a defensive weapon?
Well, I always sit there and I because I have my carbine, and I'm like, well, that's okay. And I'm like, so that's okay, but an AR-15 is not. Yes. Why? Well, an AR-15 is an assault weapon. It even says so. AR, assault rifle. No, first of all, AR stands for Armalite, not AR, assault rifle. Second of all, my carbine shoots exactly the same ammunition and at the same pace, which is one bullet per trigger pull,
right,
as an AR-15.
Now, should they ban the parts that you can buy to convert it to automatic? Probably so. I don't have a problem with that.
I generally don't either. And I don't have a problem with some regulation either, to be honest with you.
But
some.
The reality is, the Second Amendment was given to us not to protect us from bears and whatever else. It was to protect us from government.
Not even from each other, from the government.
Yeah. So
a government that is looking to actively ban it. Why would they possibly be doing that?
Well, look at what happened. Look what happened in Australia. And if you want to go even closer, look what happened in Israel. I mean, Israel took away all its people's weapons.
What you just said.
And what happened, when they were at that, if some of those people had been able to bring weapons with them to that concert or whatever else, there might have been a chance for more people to survive. I mean, it wouldn't have stopped the attack, but it would have made more survival probable.
Or if this lunatic up in Maine had faced someone like you or me who's carrying, we could have at least slowed him down. Let's say that. Made him think twice. Whatever, however you want to.
I would have given him an opportunity to talk to God about his sins.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even given him that opportunity. Again, we can either be sheep or we can defend ourselves. And they want to turn us into sheep, they being the government. Because then we're so dependent on them, we have no other option but to turn to them. And, oh, by the way, how's that working out in New York, San Francisco, Chicago, L.A.? London. Australia, Israel, all of Europe. How's that working out for you? Are they protecting you? Because, even if you have the best police officer in the world, best police force, and a shooting is happening like happened, and you call the police, he's still going to get what he wants to get done.
You have a 3 to 10 minute response depending on what's going on.
At best.
And for those 3 minutes, a lot of damage can happen.
And why should I not be able to defend myself because you're afraid of what some lunatic, and let me be clear, this guy was proven to have mental issues.
Yes.
Why should I lose my rights because of him?
Somebody was singing the song about red flag logs when this happened. The red flag logs about taking away his weaponry and things like this. Mm-hmm. On this particular case, if you've been put into a mental hospital for X amount of time, maybe you should lose that right for an indeterminate amount of time to own a weapon.
Well, that goes back to what I said, controls, right? Certain controls, I don't have a problem with that. And that scenario is one of them.
If you're a proven mental issue patient... Proven. And if you spend 2 weeks in the hospital, that's kind of an improvement.
I would say so.
Because most of the time they can force you for 3 days and you can sign yourself out. But 2 weeks in the hospital kind of indicates you have some issues.
I'm not a fan of red flag laws because all I got to do is go, Bill, you look ugly today, so I'm going to report you and say that.
Yeah, but then you go to hell for lying.
Okay. Wow. I guess we got to get things wrapped up here. I'm going to let you just win on that last one.
Well, obvious is the obvious. We'll leave it that way. Anyway, why don't you tell people where to find us?
So we are up on Rumble. So go find us there because in the end, that's probably the only place we're going to be. Because we are getting, by the way, we're getting throttled like hell on YouTube, just so you know. Subscribe to us on YouTube for now. We're on Rumble, YouTube, TikTok. What am I forgetting? Something. I'm blanking. Spotify, thank you. But yeah, I would suggest following us on Rumble because that's probably the place we're going to end up for the long term.
Yeah, he says a lot of bad things. I'm trying to keep it straight out there.
Oh, we have to do it. Yeah, by the way, coming up pretty soon, we're going to do another segment where I read the comments.
That'd be fun.
It's been a while. We need to do that.
That would be a good one.
Apparently, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
I actually agree with, but
Of course you do. Because you don't know what you're talking about.
I at least put it nice. They don't.
Anyway, it's time to say good night.
Good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, you just felt it.